Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2021, Last Night in Soho. Without any further, let's get started. A teenager from Cornwall named Eloise Ellie Turner loves the music and fashion of the 1960s. She has a room full of fashion magazines. She dances and admires her clothes, which helped her brand gain recognition.
What are you wearing?
As she dances, she drops a picture of her mother and thinks about her. She is delighted to get a letter, and she informs her grandmother that she will be going to London. As she packs her bags, her grandma offers her the photo of her mother going to London for the first time, but Ellie declines and instructs her to bring it once she is settled in London. Her grandmother tries to give her advice, as things aren't going well in London, but Ellie is upbeat about it. The following day, when she left, her grandmother tells her to call if she is unable to manage things in London. After giving Ellie the photo, she heads to the train station. She gets a cab and informs the driver that London has changed since she last visited with her mother. She also mentions that she is studying fashion at the London College of Fashion since she enjoys designing clothing. But the driver is a pervert and stalker, scaring her out. Ellie lies that she wants to shop merely to get away from the cab. After meeting her roommate, Jocasta, Ellie enters the room.
Exactly, babes.
As they introduce themselves, Jocasta, who is from Manchester City, says she has never been to Cornwall. The two are similar in that both of their moms have passed away, but Ellie's mother committed herself when she was 7 years old because of a mental illness. When Jocasta introduces Ellie to her friends, she ridicules her self-made clothing.
Know each other from before. Oh yeah, we go way back.
As it turns out, Jocasta is a jerk who attempts to take Ellie's attention away from her. She also labels all of her food in the freezer and tells Ellie not to touch it.
Let's really get on this bit.
Later, after the girls go out to the club and have a drink, Ellie feels uneasy after Jocasta makes a clever joke about her, so she goes to the bathroom. While leaving, she feels as though an unidentified man is following her. The girls also use the restroom and tease Ellie, while she listens Jocasta jokes about cutting Ellie's wrists before Christmas.
Wrists before Christmas.
On her way home from the club, she spots a strange man walking out of a store. They make eye contact, and the man smiles at her before walking away as she watches. Ellie can't sleep because of the students' party, but she meets John there, and he treats her well.
Have it.
Although Ellie is late for class the following day, she thankfully makes it before being declared absent. When she calls her grandmother, she pretends to be having fun in London. On the phone, she learns that a room in Soho is available for loan, and she chooses to rent it. She meets Miss Collins, who provides her with guidelines. After Miss Collins shows her the room, which she adores, Ellie says that if she could live anywhere, she would choose London in the 60s.
Time I'd live here, London.
Ellie moves in right away, gets comfortable, and listens to music until she falls asleep. In her vivid dream, she is in the 1960s, walks into a Paris cafe, has her cloak taken away from her, and sees Sandy, a blonde. When she looks in the mirror, Sandy declares that she wants to be the cafe's new star act.
Very good.
And that she wants to see the owner. Despite this, the waiter believes she cannot begin at Café de Paris. The waiter tells her to talk to Jack, and she tells him that she is a singer, but she can also dance.
Care for a demonstration?
After she shows off her dancing abilities, and they dance together, Jack informs her that she's already a star and wants to find her a gig throughout the week. A man who terms Sandy a pleasure giver is punched by Jack, and they both flee. After kissing her on the lips and neck before they flee, Jack drives her home and asks her out again tomorrow. Sandy goes to her room and falls asleep, waking Ellie from the dream. The following day, as Ellie draws out her Sandy-inspired clothing, John is impressed. She tells him that Sandy is someone she knows from the 60s and talks to her. As he checks what she is drawing out of jealousy, Jocasta spots a love bite on her neck, and Ellie recalls Jack kissing her. When he stops her on her way home, tells her that he likes her drawings, returns her drink, and asks if she has any plans for the evening. Ellie remembers that Sandy had made plans with Jack, so she declines John's offer. When she goes to bed, Ellie expects to be Sandy again. In her dream, after opening the door for Jack, Sandy is taken to a club for an audition, where she sings as Ellie looks on. The bar owner finds her voice appealing, and Sandy is delighted to perform there. Sandy asks Jack to be her manager and she can buy new clothes, and after that they make love. Ellie is awakened the following morning by her alarm. Inspired by Sandy's sense of style, she dyes her hair blonde, calls her grandma, and expresses happiness at being in London. She also shows their instructor her sketch and attempts to create a clothing that is comparable. The instructor likes her idea and hairstyle, but Jocasta finds it outdated. Ellie shops for gowns like Sandy and discovers the club where Sandy tried out and was hired. In the pub, a strange elderly man spots her and gives her a serious look. The man follows her home and inquires about her mother. When she tells him that her mother is dead, he responds that she might be, as most of them are dead. Ellie becomes frightened and flees, nearly being struck by a car. When she gets home, Miss Collins doesn't recognize Ellie, so she introduces herself and states that she wants something like the 60s. Ellie plays the song Sandy auditioned and sleeps, transporting to 1960. After searching around for Sandy without success, she walks upstairs and finds her in a room. When Sandy looks unhappy and breaks the mirror with her hand, Jack picks Sandy up, takes her downstairs, presents her to Mr. Pointer, and tries to give her to him. As she tries to flee, Sandy feels stuck, so Pointer follows her to her apartment and tries to touch her. Ellie yells at him and her alarm rings. She eventually wakes up because she is afraid to see Pointer. As she works on her clothing ideas and hearing uncanny voices, she chooses to destroy them. Her instructor calms her down and tells her to believe in herself. As she starts her shift there, John visits Ellie to the pub to see her and get a drink. When John asks how she's doing, Ellie responds that she's simply overwhelmed by the situation. John assures her that if she ever needs someone to talk to, he is a good listener. When her grandma calls to check on her, Ellie responds that everything is okay, but her grandmother thinks otherwise because she can tell something is off in her voice. At last, she tells her grandmother the truth in a confession. After she ends the contact, a strange old man inquires about her well-being. Ellie is shocked to learn that Lindsay knows her name and tells her that he knows all the attractive girls in the city. After Lindsay returns her sketch and leaves, a waiter asks if she is bothered, and he discloses that Lindsay used to be a ladies' man. After asking Carol if she believes in ghosts, Ellie is afraid to go back home. When she go home, the music player starts playing by itself. Jack comes in to drag her out, and Sandy begins to get pimped out to men while Ellie looks on. One day, as Sandy's vision becomes fuzzy, a policeman tells her to leave prostitution as soon as possible. The officer says she should look in the mirror, adding that she is too good for that. Ellie begs Sandy to look at her in the mirror, but she refuses. He breaks the mirror with her hand, hugs Sandy, and wakes up. She had flashbacks of Sandy past. She becomes frightened and flees the room. She later returns and is terrified to discover frightening persons in her room. Unable to sleep, John finds her at school and asks her if she has any plans for the night. He then extends an invitation to a Halloween party. When they arrive at the party, Jocasta must observe them. She gives them drinks, and after John dances with Ellie. When Ellie witnesses Sandy being played by several men, she follows her and John chases after her. As he offers to help, Ellie wishes she were like everyone else. John tells her he's happy she's different, and they kiss and running in the rain to Ellie's house and making out. When they are making out, Ellis witnesses Jack strangling Sandy, which makes her freak out. When she sees Jack preparing to stab Sandy, she screams, alerting Miss Collins. She knows Ellie has a male visitor and threatens to call the police. As John tries to flee, Ellie sees Sandy drenched in blood, but her vision goes away. When she turns on the light, Miss Collins asks if John harms her, and she replies that he doesn't. The following morning, Ellie asks Miss Collins if Sandy lives in her apartment. Miss Collins responds that several females do, but the majority of them don't go by their own names. When Ellie inquires about Sandy's death, Miss Collins responds that every room in London has seen death. Ellie still sees Jack, and she hears voices. As she finishes her dress, Sandy tells Ellie in a hallucination, "You know where to find me." Ellie becomes frightened and flees the room. John tries to stop her, but she keeps running. While she runs, she hallucinates Sandy's dead body and Jack. She sees a police station and stops by to report Sandy murder. She tells the officers that everything in her visions is genuine and that she is certain that Sandy suffered a terrible fate, but they don't believe her and inquire whether she uses drugs. In response to the police officer's question about whether mental illness runs in her family, Ellie maintains that she knows the murderer since she thinks Lindsay is Jack. Her stories are still ridiculed by the police, but one of the officers believes her and promises to investigate. Ellie looks for any mention of Sandy's death in the press, but she can't find anything. John meets her and apologizes if he did anything wrong. Even though Ellie claims he will think she is insane, she informs John about her visions, and John agrees to assist her in the hunt. After John leaves, Ellie sees the frightening guys once more and flees. She decides to stop running and pulls out her scissors, but John stops her before she can stab Jocasta. After leaving the library, Allie heads to the pub in search of Sandy. As she is running, the frightening man drags her away from Sandy. She breaks free and eventually comes up to her, but she pushes her away, causing her to fall. When she wakes up, she sees Lindsay and follows him inside the pub. When Ellie asks Lindsay if he knows Sandy, he records their exchange. Lindsay indicates that everyone knew Sandy, and he responds that he knew all the females and that he wanted to keep them safe. He goes on to say that although Sandy was wonderful, she ended up like the others. Ellie informs him that she knows he killed Sandy. Lindsay claims that Sandy isn't as good as she seems and that she took responsibility for whatever happened to her. Even though he tried to find her, he says she didn't want to be found. Lindsay chooses to leave because she is sick of being questioned. As Lindsay admits that Alex killed Sandy, he is struck by a moving car. Carol affirms that the policeman she sees in her visions is Lindsay, not Jack. Ellie phones her grandmother because she's sad and tells her that she can't spend another night in London and then see John. When she asks him to drive her home, John agrees. She heading to her flat to pack her things, and she instructs John to check on her if she doesn't return in 15 minutes. After telling Miss Collins that she will be leaving, Ellie accepts her offer of a cup of tea and apologizes for her departure. So Miss Collins informs her that a police officer stopped over to inquire about her well-being. Ellie reports that a girl died in the room. Miss Collins admits that she is Sandy as soon as Ellie sees her name. Sandy clarifies that what Ellie witnessed was truly how she stabbed Jack 100 times and enticed every man she had been assigned to kill them before burying them behind the room's walls. Ellie says she is sorry for notifying the police, but Miss Collins assures her that she has already tainted her tea, so she need not worry, because Miss Collins intends to make Ellie's death appear to be a suicide. John worries about Ellie and goes in to find her.
What is it?
When Ellie tries to stop her, Miss Collins knocks her down. As Sandy's flat burns, Ellie tries to climb the stairs and Sandy chases her. As she enters her room, Ellie is pursued by the spirits of the deceased men, telling her to murder Miss Collins in order to save them. As she enters the room and sees the spirits, Jack's spirit slaps Miss Collins. Feeling terrible, Collins tries to end her own life since she does not want to go to prison, but Ellie stopped him. She instructs Ellie to protect herself and John while she burns with the building. Then they are saved by firefighters. Shortly thereafter, Ellie succeeds when she presents her 60s gowns at the year-end fashion show. She receives congratulations from everyone, including her mother, grandma, and current boyfriend John. She then sees Sandy in the mirror, who ultimately gives her a kiss. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.